It was supposed to be a day like any other. I got up, went to work, and then headed home. But as soon as I turned on the TV, I realized something was wrong. The news anchor was talking about a car market bubble burst. At first, I thought it was a joke. After all, how could a car bubble burst? But as I listened more closely, I realized this was real. According to Bloomberg, the dominoes were already starting to fall. The US auto market was in trouble, and it was worse than anyone could have imagined. More Americans couldn't afford their car payments than during the peak of the Great Recession. And with interest rates at their highest in 15 years, auto loans were simply too expensive for millions of struggling Americans. But then something strange happened. If so many subprime borrowers were saddled with record amounts of auto loans, why didn't default spike already? It seemed like the calm before the storm was briefer than anyone thought. Suddenly, one of the most famous used car retailers in the United States and subprime auto lender American Car Center shut down all of its operations, closing all of its 50 dealerships across 10 states. I couldn't believe it. American Car Center used to target consumers regardless of their credit history, and its clientele was mainly formed by subprime borrowers. And now it was gone, leaving hundreds of employees without a job and countless customers without a car. As I watched the news, I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness and despair. The American dream had always been about owning a car, about having the freedom to go wherever you wanted, whenever you wanted. But now, that dream was slipping away from so many people. I realized that this wasn't just about a car market bubble bursting. It was about the lives of millions of Americans being turned upside down. It was about families struggling to make ends meet, about people losing their jobs and their homes. It was about the American dream slipping away, and I didn't know if we would ever get it back. The news hit hard. Tears streamed down my face as I read about the sudden collapse of the auto lender and car retailer. It wasn't just about the loss of jobs, it was about the way it was handled. A former employee, who asked to remain anonymous, spoke out about the unprofessional way the employees were let go. My heart goes out in so much empathy to the employees that did not know until the end of their shift that they were out of a job. The callousness of it all left me feeling heartbroken. The customers were also left in a state of confusion. Samantha Mitchell, who had leased a used Volkswagen Passat from the company, expressed her concerns on social media. "Are we paying our car note?" she asked. "Is the car free? We want to know." The CEO of Memphis Area Legal Services, Cindy Eddinghoff, clarified that the borrowers were still obligated to pay their car notes, and failure to do so could result in repossession. The lack of transparency from the company only added to the customers' anxiety. As I read on, I learned that the collapse of the auto lender was just the beginning. Millions of people were falling behind on their car payments, and the subprime auto loan market was deteriorating rapidly. Cox Automotive reported that 7.11% of subprime loans were severely delinquent in the last month. This was up from 6.75% in the month prior and 5.48% in the same period a year ago. The 7.11% severe delinquency rate was the highest monthly figure since Cox began tracking the data, in 2006. This was a sign of the dire straits that many Americans were facing. IBIS World data showed that about $19.6 billion of subprime auto loans were expected to be written in the U.S. in 2023. The statistics painted a bleak picture of the future. My heart went out to those who were struggling to make ends meet. The uncertainty of the times was overwhelming. As Mitchell aptly put it, professionally, this is not the way you do business. We could only hope for a brighter future where transparency and empathy reign supreme. The current state of the auto industry is a cause for concern. The sharp increase in delinquencies among the riskiest auto borrowers may only represent about 11% of the overall U.S. auto market of $173.2 billion, but it could be a sign of a broader auto loan problem that poses a threat to the economy as a whole. It's important to note that 2022 was the worst year for the auto industry in over a decade. With manufacturers struggling to keep up with demand due to supply chain issues and a shortage of crucial semiconductor chips, coupled with high interest rates and low inventory, car sales plummeted to the lowest total since 2011. Only 13.7 million vehicles were sold in 2022, a significant drop of 8% from the previous year. As someone who relies on my car to get around, I understand the impact that these factors can have on the industry. It's hard to imagine a world without cars, but the current situation is pushing prices out of reach for many Americans, making it difficult to justify purchasing a new vehicle. The latest University of Michigan survey confirms this, with consumers citing high prices as the primary factor in their decision not to purchase a car in the current environment. This is bad news for automakers who are already struggling to stay afloat. Stellantis, the parent company of Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep, saw a 13% drop in U.S. sales in 2022. Other major manufacturers, such as Honda, Nissan, and Toyota, also experienced significant declines. The ongoing recession, coupled with rising interest rates and inflation, is only exacerbating the problem. Despite all of this, it's hard to imagine the idea of a car market bubble as absurd. While cars may not appreciate in value over time like stocks or houses, they are still an important asset for many people. They provide transportation and freedom, and for some, they are a necessary tool for their livelihood. It's important for the industry to find ways to adapt and weather this storm, as the impact could be felt far beyond the auto market itself. In the end, a car is not just a machine. It's a symbol of independence, a source of pride, and a way to connect with the world around us. As the industry faces these challenges, we must remember the role that cars play in our lives and work to ensure that they remain accessible to all who need them. Auto loans in the U.S. have doubled over the past decade, reaching nearly $1.4 trillion. However, interest rates and monthly payments have increased, making it difficult for many to afford car loans. The auto loan market is also poorly regulated, with borrowers in all credit score categories receiving loans with APRs ranging from 0% to over 25%. Furthermore, millions of borrowers have been put into loans they may not be able to afford, and underwriting standards for auto loans are often lax. Rising delinquencies and defaults could trigger a financial crisis, with investors unlikely to see stable returns.